So this week, Apple announced some cool new products, and a lot of people have been asking me, what do I think about what was announced and what my opinion of the new software and the new hardware is. So let me give you kind of my rundown on and thoughts on what Apple announced this week. Starting off with the Apple Watch Series 6. So the Apple Watch Series 6 continues the new form factor, the 40 and 44 millimeter size. So if you have an Apple Watch with a Series 4 or bigger, it's the same size. If you're an Apple Watch Series 3 or younger, it's going to be bigger. The big new change here, obviously, is the addition of the blood oxygen sensor that they built into the back of the watch. And I always find it funny because every iteration of the Apple Watch adds a new sensor. And I really, as a consumer, am really on board and aligned with the fact that Apple is continuing this trend on making the Apple Watch not just a smart watch, but also really a strong personal medical assistant in a way. The Apple Watch Series 5 brought about the electrocardiogram feature in addition to the heart rate sensor. This new one with the blood oxygen sensor is fantastic. This is a great thing for Apple to bring to market. It's very timely too, as we're dealing with a global pandemic that affects people's ability to breathe. So providing a new sensor that can monitor the level of oxygen saturation in the blood is fantastic. Apple, I just wish you wouldn't add an incremental sensor at each time, because each time I now have to go figure out how I can buy this new watch in order to really monitor my health the right way. Um, WatchOS 7 as a platform brings some cool tweaks to it. I feel like there's probably more that's under the hood in terms of improvement that they've done here. In terms of like the base feature, really the only thing I miss, and I played around with the Watch OS in the beta format, and the thing that I actually miss the most is the Force Touch, which Apple removed in Watch OS 7. And the reason I miss it is because that's how I could clear all like just the crap clutter notifications that piled up on my watch during the day. Now I got to scroll up through everything just to hit clear all. So yes, in a way, Apple is making me read my notifications, but if I wanted to read them, I would have read them in the first place. So, and honestly, I don't sleep with my Apple Watch on. I wear my Apple Watch during the day and I let it recharge overnight. And so having a option to track my sleep, yeah, that'd be cool, but not at the expense of my battery life or the fact that I use my Apple Watch during the day to keep myself on track from my work schedule, my kids who are staying home doing virtual learning, what they have going on, and really everything else, emails, texts, you name it. Um, Now, let's talk about the new family setup option. I am very clearly not Apple's target market for this. I have two kids who are both in elementary school, and I would never, ever consider giving them a $300 to $400 smartwatch when I know for a fact these kids can't even keep track of the, the composition notebooks that they use for school. And those are like 50 cents a piece. So I can appreciate Apple trying to get the Apple Watch into more people's hands without making having the iPhone a barrier to entry. But seems like such an interesting way to solve this problem, which I don't know if it actually is a problem. And as a matter of fact, I have a lot of friends who have kids that are in high school, and I know that when they ask their kids, hey, would you rather have an iPhone or an Apple Watch? The kids all pick iPhones. So I don't really know what kind of market Apple has identified for this. I'll be curious to see how this plays out. The fact that you have to have a cellular model of an Apple Watch to get this adds the extra cost into the mix. So I don't really know who they're targeting. I would love to understand their market segmentation study and how they identify. We have a group of people who want to give their kids a $400 smartwatch, but won't spend the $20 a month to give them an iPhone instead. So let's really go after that. Now, in the video, I thought that they did of it was cool because you also saw like a multi-generational family. So they mentioned, giving this to a parent or whatnot. I would never give something like this to my parents. And the reason I say that is this. My dad, I gave my dad an Apple Watch and it pairs to his phone and he likes it because it it shares the data back and forth. I would never give them something like an Apple Watch that would be an island unto itself, where they would not have a phone to support it and things like that. Part of the reason is because my dad likes having a bigger screen to read stuff from. So he gets the notification on his watch, and usually he then picks up his phone. That's really what he uses it for. My mom is a diehard Fitbit dedicated user and has no qualms about sticking with that platform, and in fact doesn't want to switch. So let's talk about the Apple Watch SE. So Apple continued their branding trend and taking the SE. I don't know if it means standard edition or what, but taking that moniker and applying it to the Apple Watch product line. And honestly, I have to say, between all the iterations of the iPad that we have, all the iterations of the iPhone that we have, all of the iterations of the Mac that we have, and all of the iterations of the Apple Watch that we now have, I have to wonder, think back to when, back in the 90s, when Apple bought Next and brought Steve Jobs back. There was an anecdote that was shared in the Walter Isaacson biography where he drew a typical, 2x2 square and was like, we have four products. This is who we offer the product for home users, professional users, desktop users, and mobile users. I can't imagine somebody trying to draw that same graph with all the different iterations that they offer, especially with the Apple Watch SE, because it is marketed as like an inexpensive way to get into the Apple Watch ecosystem. But because they're keeping the Series 3 alive, it's still not the cheapest watch. So again, they've really taken the SE moniker, which was supposed to be kind of like their basic level of product, and they've now applied it to a mid-range product in their Apple Watch product line, which is creating a little bit, in my opinion, of some brand confusion and brand inconsistency. Now, I do appreciate the fact that Apple is trying to get more watches in the hands of more people. So again, time will tell if I'm just blowing smoke or if there's some validity here in creating consumer confusion with how they're branding their products now. Okay, so let's talk about the iPad Air. I don't know what Apple was thinking here, to be truly honest. One of the reasons why I love my iPhone X and my iPhone XS and my iPad Pro is because they incorporated the Face ID, which eliminated really the need for the home button. Because on touch devices, that home button is designed to be at the most accessible point for the user, because usually people are holding the iPads from the bottom corners. By creating a screen, which they were like, oh, they were talking about the bezels, and I'm like, there's still a bezel on it. By creating a device, it's all screen, but relegating the Touch ID to the sleep wake button at the top, I don't know what the logic was there, because most users that I know will take their $1,000 iPod or I'm sorry, iPad, and they'll put it in a case because they don't have, a leprechaun in their basement they can beat with a stick when they need extra money to go buy a new Apple product if their existing one breaks. So again, I don't know who they were trying to help here. Um, and I'm actually glad I got my kids the last generation iPad Air. When we made the commitment to stay at home for school, we made the commitment to invest and get them some better hardware so they could do their Zoom calls, their Google Classroom, and everything like that. And so I'm glad we got the last iteration that had the home button. I think removing the home button from the iPad Air and moving it to the Touch ID to the sleep wake sensor, I feel like that's a mistake. And again, time will tell if I'm right or wrong. I think creating a buttonless tablet without Face ID is like, why would you do that? Um, okay, let's stop talking about hardware. Let's talk about the services. So, Fitness Plus. Again, this goes back to my observation on the Apple Watch Series 6. Apple is doubling down with their investment and taking new areas into the personal fitness marketplace. They're trying to capitalize on this. And why not? Like, you have an activity tracker on your wrist all day. It is logical that Apple would take on like the Pelotons and things like that with this new service. Which is interesting is Peloton, their CEO was like, yeah, it's all right. We have the hardware. We don't need to worry about this. And last time I checked, there are more iOS devices and Apple TVs or I guess tvOS devices and iOS devices that are in the hands of more people versus Peloton equipment. Now, I could be wrong, but that's just my understanding. So I think poo-pooing that is it to me. It just has it rings of like Blockbuster and poo-pooing Netflix. Like, do not, if anything, do not discount Apple from creating consumer demand for a product that you didn't think people wanted or needed. Apple Watch is the best-selling smartwatch. Now, you can argue to what level that is, and that's totally justifiable. Um, iPhone, the smartphone market, as we know it today, really would not exist without the original iPhone, which would not have existed without the original iPod. So do not discount Apple from innovating new services in areas where we might not think there's a need for it. So Fitness Plus, it's coming out later this fall. I'll be curious to see what it looks like. And as more people are staying home due to restrictions with COVID-19, uh, I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of people signing up for this. I really do. I could be wrong, and maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part that people want to stay fit right now, but that's kind of what I think is going to happen. Now, let's talk about Apple One. Thank God. Apple finally figured out we should bundle these services and charge people a flat fee for these services and give it a simple, easy name to figure out. The reason I say that is this. We have the 200 gigabyte iCloud family storage plan that my wife and I share. We have Apple TV Plus, which we got for free for a year when we bought our last Apple TV 4K. We have Apple Arcade, so we can pay a flat fee for our kids to play games wherever we go. And we also, I read news a lot and my wife likes to work out. So, and we both have Apple and we all have Apple Music. So it's kind of like one of these things where it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Now, here's the catch and for me with Apple One. If you take a look at what you pay for Apple services, if you were even an Apple service subscriber, do the math and figure out what do you pay for these services if you buy them a la carte, and then figure out if going to this Apple One bundle makes sense for you. In some cases, it may not. You could be paying for things that you don't need, which is always the trade-off whenever a service company introduces bundles. This is one of the reasons why I dumped cable TV a long ass time ago, is because I didn't want to pay for channels that I didn't want to watch. Why are you charging me, $80 a month for 400 channels when really I watched like five? And I'm buying this bundle because it comes with like the one or two channels that I actually care about. So anytime you bundle this, you do run the risk of attrition and actually driving some users away. Now, to Apple's credit, I think what they've done here in terms of how they've priced things is very reasonable. As I mentioned before, we have the iCloud storage plan, we have Apple TV Plus, we have Apple Arcade, and we have Apple Music. So those are the four big things that we have that we use a lot of. If we went with the family plan, we would be saving about $8 a month compared to what we pay for all of those services individually. Now, here's where the catch comes with this for us is, yeah, we would save $8 a month by doing this, but if we paid just $2 more a month from what we pay now, we would get the Premier plan, which gets us the 2 terabyte iCloud drive instead of the 200 gigabyte cloud drive. Plus, it would give us News Plus, plus, it would give us Fitness Plus. So, Apple is really kind of very intelligently pricing these things out to make it where it's like, well, I can just pay $2 extra a month and I get all this ungodly amount of cloud storage, plus I get some new stuff to try out, and I keep the things I'm already paying for. That works if you use the things you already pay for. If you don't, the bundling may not be a good idea for you, so price it out. Get a piece of paper, get a pencil, write down how much you pay a month for these services, and then figure out, is it worth paying the like the 20 or the $30 a month for the different family plans? Now, if you're an individual, this makes a lot of sense because what they're charging for individuals is what they charge today for the Apple Music family plan. It's not that much more. But again, your mileage may vary. So just crunch the numbers and do the math. Now let's talk about the things that were not announced this week. There was not a new phone, which if you followed their earnings call, you would know that already was coming. They're not talking about the new phone until probably a month or two from now. Okay, that's when the new iPhone is going to be discussed. There was also no mention of Mac OS Big Sur. It's still in beta right now. I'm actually running the public beta for Big Sur on my MacBook Air from 2014. And so far, Big Sur has been rock solid. It was a little touch and go there at the very beginning with the very first developer beta for it, but I switched from the developer betas to the public betas and it got a little bit more stable. Typically, the way the betas work is the public beta usually follows after the developer beta. So by the time they hit developer beta 2, that's usually when they roll out public beta 1. So that's usually how the iteration cycles work. Um, tvOS, not really much changed in terms of how I use it, to be quite candid. So with tvOS, there really wasn't a whole lot for me to be excited about. Um, so that's it. So that's my rundown on what Apple announced this week. Again, great product update with the Watch Series 6. Especially if you are somebody who is struggling with a breathing condition, lung disease, sarcoidosis, COVID, if you're dealing with anything like this, having a watch that can help you keep track of your blood oxygen level is a great, great thing because it also builds on the stuff that they already had, like the fall detection and the electrocardiogram. If you're not in that group, you're probably like, I don't need it. Family share, again, I don't know who that's solving for. Not giving my kids a $400 smartwatch, but that's just me. And so I guess we'll see. And yeah, I probably will be signing up for Apple One Premier because I'm fine paying $2 extra a month if that gets me the 2 terabyte cloud plan, because then I can actually stop getting nasty grams from my wife on the fact that my photos are taking up too much iCloud storage space. So again, that's my rundown. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and you guys stay safe, stay healthy, wear a mask, and I'll talk to you later.